Dan Schorr, talk to me.
There's a lot of strange facts here. First of all, how did the 12-year-old not know what was going on? The sheriff said they have some kind of DNA evidence. You would presume that might be blood of the killer, but we don't know how that came about. And they're casting a really wide net here, so it shows that they really don't have an idea yet about who killed this little girl.
Okay, and what about the 12-year-old, Tom? I mean, what do we know about whether or not that 12-year-old, I understand, took a lie detector?
Well, look, Judge, I mean, sadly, history has shown us, I think, as Detective Furman was implicating, that whenever there is a child abduction, a child murder, you want to start inside the immediate family, the extended family, friends. I would hate to think that a 12-year-old or any family member could possibly be involved in something this heinous. But I think one of the first things that the law enforcement want to do, if they haven't done it so far already, is look at polygraph exams. If for no other reason, to exclude members of the family, exclude people who knew the little girl.
And just for the benefit of the viewers, a polygraph examination can't be admitted into evidence. It's really an investigative tool that law enforcement uses all the time. But, I mean, you and I both know, I mean, I prosecuted 12-year-olds for murder. I mean, you know, they do it, but I'm not suggesting in this case that that's the case at all.
It's also a very personal, angry way to kill somebody, as you alluded to before. Stabbing someone multiple times, someone who had a beef either with the girl or maybe with a family member, and going through their computers, their cell phones, imaging them, looking at chat room conversations, Skype conversations. Who were they talking to recently? That's what the sheriffs need to know.
And the parents had a legitimate reason to be out of the home, Tom?
It sounds like they had a legitimate reason. It's certainly not unusual to leave an 8-year-old home with a 12-year-old, particularly if it was during the daytime. But one other point I want to make about polygraphs, it's not only an investigatory tool for prosecutors and law enforcement. As a defense attorney, I've wanted my clients to submit the polygraph test when they're under suspicion. Yeah, it's not admissible in court, but it's a great way to show the police that, look, you know, my client, it doesn't have anything to do with this.
All right, and Mark, I'm going to go back to you for a moment. I mean, where do they go from here?
Well, I think they're already probably a lot farther than we think. When you give a polygraph, you're not necessarily telling the person that's being examined what the results are. Or you could say, yeah, you're fine. You passed with flying colors. It's an investigatory tool, so they want somebody to relax or actually think that they're in the clear. That's the first thing. The second thing is a witness that said that she saw the man leave the residence. She recanted her story, and the sheriff said that that didn't hurt the investigation, it actually narrowed it. And I think I know what that means. I'm not going to speculate on it, but it means that it's focusing now in a tighter circle, not a broader one.
Well, and you know what it tells me, Mark? It tells me that the 8-year-old and this so-called, the 12-year-old and the corroborating witness had talked ahead of time and agreed on a story. The corroborating witness recants. Now you got to go back to the original, to the start of the case, Mark. I'm with you on this one. All right, thanks, Mark, Dan, and Tom. Stick around. And coming up, the latest from that never-ending Jodi Arias trial. Her fate now rests in the hands of the jury, finally. And vote in our Insta poll. What punishment should the 3 friends of Boston bombing suspect Dzhokhar Tsarnaev get for their role in disposing of evidence? And we may feature your response straight ahead. Stay with us.
It's not even about whether or not you like Jodi Arias. 9 days out of 10, I don't like Jodi Arias.
Even her own attorney admits he doesn't like her. Closing arguments in the Jodi Arias murder trial finally brought a painfully long trial to an end. It's now in the hands of the jury. And with us, Dan Schorr and Tom Knipp. All right, her attorney may not like her, but how do you think the jury feels about her, Dan? Not you, the jury.
Judge, she lied to them multiple times. She's told an implausible story that she doesn't even remember how she killed him. Now, the emotion of not liking her is not relevant to a verdict, but the fact that factually she told them to believe things that were not true, and before the trial she said no jury will ever convict me.
Dan, what did he also say during his closing? She's not on trial for lying. She's on trial for murder. I got to tell you, I've used that line. The
Has it worked?
Sometimes. The prosecutor objected. I disagree with the judge sustaining that objection, because often as defense attorneys, look, we don't get to pick and choose our clients. Often they are loathsome people, but not liking them is not a reason for convicting them.
But the juries
He's dead on.
The juries, they're human beings, and they don't like to be lied to their faces repeatedly for days and weeks, and that's not going to help
Is
her.
that enough to send someone to the electric chair, the lethal injection chair?
Excuse me, Tom. They have a little evidence like that camera that she tried to wash in the washing machine. Is she wacko?
They have a lot of evidence. They have too much evidence. Why did this trial take 4 months? Because the prosecutor lost control of this courtroom. And
You
if it
think
was
so?
so open and shut, what were we sitting through 4 months of expert testimony for?
Tom, the bottom line is that the defense gets to put a defense on, and we as prosecutors, and you know because you worked for me,
I do.
Are not allowed to tell the defense they can't keep doing.
I'm in a much higher tax bracket right now, by the way.
Good for you.
I agree that the prosecutor did take too long. He asked too many questions. He fought with Jodi Arias over little points. However, he did make the big points, and his tone was great in the closing argument. He logically went through all the evidence, how her planning this out beforehand, using a .25 caliber weapon that was stolen from her grandparents' home, and lying about it after, it shows an intentional planned out crime.
Defense attorney, is that premeditation? A week before, the guy tells her, the defendant, that he's going to break up with her. He's going to Mexico or somewhere with a new Chiquita, and her parents end up losing a gun, which all of a sudden disappears, and say it's a .25 caliber.
Listen, as the gun debate that's been raging this country since Sandy Hook, there's a lot of .25 caliber guns out there. If they could show that that was the gun that was
hogwash.
used.
Take a listen to the prosecutor. Do we have some sound from the prosecutor?
And even after stabbing him over again, and even after slashing his throat from ear to ear, and then even after taking a gun and shooting him in the face, she will not let him rest in peace. But now, instead of a gun, instead of a knife, she uses lies.
Yeah. What do you have to say about that? You trash the victim. He's 6 feet under. He can't answer for himself, defense attorney.
Look, he's reciting the facts of this case. The facts aren't in dispute. This is a question of whether she's legally guilty, intent, a specific intent crime, premeditation. That is something that juries struggle with.
Look, the defense really made an argument for manslaughter on their closing argument, saying if she's guilty of anything, it'll be manslaughter. A reckless crime, they're saying. Or,
why manslaughter?
Well, they're never going to get an acquittal here. Manslaughter is that Travis Alexander started the fight and she fought back, not in a way that makes that a legal justification, but it's enough to bring it down to manslaughter. However, the injuries are so inconsistent with that. 27 stab wounds, gunshot to the head, throat slashed. That's not fighting back in a way to preserve your own life. That's angry.
If you're a female going against a stronger, bigger, tougher male and you're fighting for your life,
then you shoot him in the head first and then stab him in the back 30 times and slit his throat.
That's
Come on,
semantics,
Tom.
Judge.
You also don't lie about it after. You don't give a bunch of different stories. If you really defend yourself, you're trying to get help right after. You're calling for
What's in the
assistance.
jury charge about consciousness of guilt? There's many reasons why someone who may have committed an act may lie about it. They're going to hear that.
But you know,
Bottom line, gentlemen, is she going to be convicted, and of what?
she'll be convicted of first-degree murder.
You think first degree?
I do, because it's a premeditated crime.
What do you think, Tom?
I don't see first degree. I could see second degree. I could see manslaughter. I could also see a hung jury. You got 12 strangers in a room
You know
for
what?
4
If
months.
there's a
Hard to
hung
agree
jury
on
in the
anything.
Jodi Arias case, I will buy you dinner anywhere you want.
I'll take you up on that.
Yeah, you can, because it's not going to happen. This jury's too smart. Tell them why.
There's so much evidence. She's lied about it. There's so much evidence showing that she planned it out, the gas cans, the gun that was stolen. There's no way that this is not
I'll tell you
intentional
why,
planned out murder.
because
in a
the
room, not easy
questions
to
the
get
jury asked indicate they're smart people. Dan, Tom, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Judge.